It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Nir Bashan. Hey, Nir, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing very well. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are the CEO of the Creator Mindset, and...
Yep. We have a small little startup where small but mighty, where we do keynotes and workshops and stuff like that all around creativity.
Okay, well, that's an interesting concept because I was always of the opinion that you couldn't teach creativeness. I always thought that was something that was inherently born into people.
Yeah, well, it is. We're all born creative, and, we go through life, and then the creativity kind of gets beat out of us. We go to school, and we're taught, numbers are where it's at, and, let's quantify everything and measure things, and that gives us a sense of reality and the truth, but it's not true. It isn't. Creativity is an innate sort of position of humanity to survive and to get by and to do well, and so we've shut off the creative side, and we've just completely started to favor the analytics, and we're in rough shape because we've chosen to do that.
Well, I have to agree with you on that. You do see it with children. I mean, with young children, they tend to be very creative, and then at a point, some of them go on to be creative, but many don't. Many just sort of lose it as they go through school and as they get older. So how is this process applied to what you're doing? Give me an idea of what exactly you do in your speeches and your workshops.
So I work with businesses across the country, some individuals as well, and I help them understand that they were born creative, no matter who they are and what they do, and I help them sort of listen to that voice that tells them what it is that they should be doing. Taking a creative leap, a creative venture. And, oftentimes people tell me, Nir, that's fantastic, I like music or painting or, dance or whatever, but, I run a disaster restoration franchise. I've got 13 trucks and 55 employees, and, I'm growing to this region or that region. How can creativity help me? But creativity can really help when you are in business, especially when you don't think it'll help. There's all kinds of things that you can look at in your business, in your day-to-day business with creativity that will introduce a new way to look at it. And when you introduce a new way to look at it, you solve problems like never before, and you're able to grow and to do well and to sort of, get to the next level much easier.
It's funny because most of the people that come on my show are creative artists in one endeavor or another. And I see that they are always faced with the opposite problem. They have all the creativity in the world, but now it's how to be analytical enough to make a living at it.
How funny. Yeah, no, I work with the other population, I guess.
It sounds like it.
And it's so interesting to see, see how that comes to play.
Because many artists, not all, and especially now with internet and everything is DIY, social media following, all of this stuff, artists have had to become their own managers in a sense. And so they're being forced into the world if they want to make a living doing it. But typically artists, the creative artists, are not good at that side. That's why traditionally they always had a manager. They could concentrate on doing their craft and their creation, and the manager could run the business and the money and all of that. So what it seems like you're doing is sort of injecting in a certain aspect of the creative side to people who are already established on the analytical side and the business side. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Douglas, and it's we need more balance today. We got to be more in the middle. I don't think that anybody can do well in today's economy if you're too far on one side or really one end of the spectrum, right? So if you're really, really creative, that's an amazing thing. But if you don't know how to do, a spreadsheet or how to, quantify the sales of your painting and, leverage opportunities with certain clients and so on and so forth to build relationships to get more of your art sold, then I don't think you're doing a good job, right? And if you're far on the analytics side, too far on the analytics side, and you're just, hey, I don't touch this creativity thing with a 10-foot pole and this and that, I don't think you're doing it right either. So we need more balance these days. And so my method, I wrote a book called The Creator Mindset, and it's got 92 tools in it that help people become more creative no matter what they do. And it sort of enables people to take risks on ideas that in the long run will enable them to do far better in whatever their chosen vocation is.
Can you give an example of that? You don't have to mention the name of the company, but just a particular company that you got involved with and helped them to inject some creativity into what they were doing?
Yeah, of course. So back with the disaster restoration people, I ended up doing a consultancy with them, and we started to I just started to ask questions and see what the goals of the business were. And of course, one of the main goals was, hey, we need to expand, and we feel that we need to increase revenues. I said, okay, great, what are you guys doing? They're like, well, we got trackers in all the trucks so that we can save on gas and stuff like that. I said, okay, how's that working out? They're like, it's kind of a headache, we have to track people and stuff. I said, okay, well, what are you trying to do? Well, we're trying to save money. And I said, okay, why don't we look at it from a different perspective, and why don't we inject more revenue into something than trying to maximize an efficiency? And, there was some tepid response. It was like, okay, well, what do you got going? So I said, okay, how many, proposals do you guys get out for jobs a week? And I forgot the number. But they do a lot of proposals, and, their close rate is something like 8 or 10 or 12%. I can't remember it exactly. I said, well, what if we get that up 1%? What would that do? They're like, forget the trucks with the gas. That would be amazing. Now we're all ears. How do we do that? And I said, well, how are you guys approaching the customer and stuff like that? They're like, well, we have it's an agreement. We leave it with the customer after we do a walkthrough, and they either call or they don't. And I said, okay, how do you invoice? How do you charge for your particular service? And they're like, Nir, we're not messing with that. It's something we've been doing since 1971, and it works for us. And I'm like, it works for you so well that you're looking, to track gas costs on your fleet, right? And so they said, okay, all right, let's look at it. And so we broke it down, and we actually created, Douglas, an a la carte model, which was the first in the business, where the customer got to pick what they wanted done. So, grandma's cooking turkey on Thanksgiving, and burns it in the oven and causes a little fire. Fire runs up the wall, it's extinguished, but you got to take the drywall out, water damage, and all this stuff, right? So what we introduced was an a la carte model where somebody, customer could pick what they wanted done, and just picking what they wanted done empowered the customer to feel like, hey, I feel empowered, and I can, kind of control my own destiny here with this company. And we broke it out so that if they ended up doing all the a la carte stuff, it was more than what the old invoice amount was, something like 20% more. But if they just put one or two, it would be, cheaper to the customer. And we've noticed that most people, because they got the ability to choose, would choose, one or two of the items. And the company ended up doing such a good job that the customer ended up picking more items from that a la carte list, and boom, we use creativity to make more money. So it is really a system of thinking outside the box, to really think inside the box and to drive more success for things that people generally don't think about.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. Let's go back to the turkey burning in the oven. So when they came in before, prior to this a la carte thing you were talking about, what would they propose to do? That's what I don't understand. Huh?
So it was a flat fee. So they came in, turkey burned, it was a flat fee. I don't know, $200, let's say, or $2,000 or whatever the cost was. And what we did is we enabled the customer to pick their item. So instead of an all-in $2,000, they got $1,000 for drywall restoration, $200 for painting, $600 for water abatement, and this type of stuff. And they got to choose. And so what the customer generally did was choose one thing. And the company had an opportunity to have multiple touch points with that customer and demonstrate at each touch point how valuable they were. And that is a creative thing. There's no accountant on earth that will tell you, lower your price to get more work, right? But that comes from creativity. And when you apply creativity to allow somebody to decide what they wanted to do, what they wanted to restore, in this case, you were able to grow and to make more revenue.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense because I had a similar experience with a general contractor, to build a garage on my house. And we wanted an upstairs on the garage to make like a studio. And I remember that he gave me one price. And then when we saw the plans and said, okay, that looks good. But then there were all these things that, we said, well, can we do this or can we do that? And he kept adding on and adding on and adding on. And I said, you know what? This is just one price. I said, if we had started this way to begin with the a la carte, it would have been cheaper and I would have been more happy with what I ended up with. So you're right. I mean, it's the idea. I was angry that I couldn't pick, that he just sort of threw it all into one lump thing. And he was basically building his vision, not mine.
Yeah, it happens a lot, A lot of businesses work on an a la carte, on a lump sum amount, where the customer wants that control. Fear is, Douglas, a lot of times the analytical mind is screaming at you saying, don't give up control, when the creative side of your mind is saying, you can make way more money if you just a la carte it and do a really good job, and so that's kind of the thing there with billing models.
So how many companies have you worked with at this point?
A bunch. I would say, probably in the, 25 to 30 range. Different companies. Some big ones, some small ones, some mom and pop companies, and that sort of thing. And have you realized success with most of them in some way? It's funny. It's how do you define success, right? And it's something that I always ask somebody, just to make sure that I can meet their expectations. I don't know. I'm a big believer in no unhappy customer. So if people engage with me and don't like my service, I generally give them their money back. I only had to do that once in my entire life. But it's there if it's needed. It's one of those things where, you really want to partner with somebody. You don't want to perform. In a consultancy, it's easy to perform sort of an augmented staff, where you're there and they call on you and you get kind of used to it. They keep extending out the agreement and you're there to kind of help bounce ideas off of them and that sort of thing. But what I want to do is really teach people how to do the work rather than, them having me or someone else on a long-term retainer. I want to teach that person how to do that and how to embed it into their organization rather than building kind of an augmented staff model. And that has been pretty successful. And I tell people that up front, they go, oh, okay, cool. It's not something that this person wants to stay on for 10 years. They really want to work with us and get us the, teach a man to fish kind of thing.
Okay. We've got time for one of your sample questions here, and I want to hit this one because I think it's on everyone's mind. How can creativity be relevant in today's world with COVID, civil unrest, etc.?
I think it's more relevant today than ever. I think the tools in the process of looking at something different is incredibly powerful. There are businesses that have done really well, Douglas, and some that have done terribly over this last, 10 months or so. And really, it is about the businesses who embed creativity in all parts of the organization and that do well. And the businesses that don't, they tend to kind of, give up, close up shop, and move on. So I think that creativity is incredibly important in businesses today, and looking at problems and solving them in a different way will never really go out of style. It will never be, something that is a trend or whatnot. The fresh thinking about problems that exist today is incredibly important, and it's so scarce these days in business.
Well, certainly COVID has kickstarted the need for people to work remotely. And I think we're going to see that once COVID is gone and we get back to our lives, I think we're still going to see that. I don't think people are going to start flooding back into the offices commuting again if they don't have to. And actually that's a positive thing to come out of all of this, because it just makes more sense from both sides. And I see very little negative impact on people working remotely.
Yeah, that's something we're going to see a lot of changes. And changes is kind of, up there with death and taxes. It's the only guaranteed thing in life. So, how you prepare yourself and how you prepare your career or your business or, whatever it is that you're doing to deal with change is incredibly important, Douglas. So, yeah, I completely agree. How has working from home changed your day-to-day environment? What are you doing to come up with new, different, fresh ideas in this changed environment?
We do have to wrap this up. What is your website?
It's nirbashan.com. There's 3 Nir Bashans in the entire world. I'm very easy to find.
Wow.
I'm not the one, designing closets in Israel, and I'm not the one uploading Call of Duty clips. So I'm very easy to find. nirbashan.com. We have a free community. We have C-suite all the way to students on there. Everybody's talking about creativity at work and at school and at their jobs and stuff like that. Really, really fun community. It's free, and I'd love to see you on there and love to see your listeners on there.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps, record producer. This is my story about Elton John, working with him in those early years, going back to 1967 at Dick James, all the amazing tours, those first recordings, going through to Rocket Records, and it's an amazing story about his incredible rise to stardom and my part in that. So look forward to taking you on that journey. So here we go. Yeah, and to order this great audio CD, please just email me at stuartepps@talk21.com. That's Stuart, Stuart, Epps, EPPS, at talk, TALK, 21 in figures.com. Stuart Epps at talk21.com. Email me and I'll give you all the details for buying this brilliant audio disc. Thank you. Bye.
Love coffee, huh? But wait a minute. It seems like every time you finish a cup of coffee, you get all of these side effects along with it. Heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, acid reflux. As the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee, Tyler's Coffee is able to provide a healthier option in the solution for more than 100 million individuals who have sensitive stomachs or suffer from acid-related modalities. This is Tyler's acid-free coffee. Coffee without the consequences.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. Don't touch anything. You've got it right where you need it. Tuned in to the Douglas Coleman Show. You heard me.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions, and you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Art Coombs. Hi, Art. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing fine. Thank you very much. Let's see. You are a best-selling author, dynamic speaker, leadership guru. I
don't know about the dynamic and the guru part, but, hey, what can I say?
I also notice on your name that you're the third. Is that correct?
I am the third, yes.
So let's see. Third would be what? Grandfather, father, and you?
It's exactly right.
Okay.
And and I'm blessed to have a fourth. My son is the fourth.
Oh, that's great.
I continued the tradition.
So why don't you give us a little bit? I know you got a book to promote called Hard Easy. Before we get to your book, though, why don't you just give us a little bit of your backstory, because it looks kind of interesting, and then we'll talk about your book.
I guess I'm like a lot of other. I think there are more people like me than I think we probably realize. I have severe dyslexia, so I had a learning disability, and I was blessed to have a father who graduated with his doctorate from Stanford University in education. And so back then in the 70s, we could identify dyslexia, but we didn't know, how to address it really, or try to help individuals with dyslexia. So for most of my elementary school, junior high, and high school, I sort of clung to this excuse that because I was born this way, I'm just relegated to sort of scholastic mediocrity. That's just the role. Those are the cards I was dealt. Something happened to me when I was about 25 that sort of woke me up and sort of changed the way I saw myself and how I saw education, and that really opened my eyes to not only a vocational career that has blessed me and my family a great deal, but also I've enjoyed being an author. And so that's sort of the lowdown on me, who I am.
Okay. Is there anything people can do for dyslexia? I mean, is there any kind of training, or actually this is a sort of a two-part question, because I don't know if you've seen the movie The King's Speech.
I have.
Okay. Is dyslexia a physical issue, or is it a psychological issue?
It's in your DNA. It's in a physical issue. No matter how much I work, I still have dyslexia. So I think there are a couple of things. So back to your question, what can you do? Again, I give all the credit to my father. He was truly gifted. And I remember I remember distinctly, I'm going to get a little personal here, but I remember distinctly when I was about 10 years old, my mom and dad sort of having a discussion, almost a heated discussion, behind their bedroom door, and it was about me. And so like any curious 10-year-old kid, I stopped and listened through the door. And my mom wanted me, because of how slow I was, she wanted me to be pulled out of school, she wanted me to be pulled out of athletics, and she wanted to send me to a school for slower kids. And my father said, absolutely not. And she said, well, then certainly let's just pull him out of athletics and let's hire tutors and stuff like that. Let's double down and really help him. And my mom's motives were pure. They were absolutely pure. But my father's argument was this. Manon, my mom's name is Manon. Manon, why would we take away the one thing that's building his self-esteem, athletics, and reinforce the biggest internal demon in his life? His biggest weakness is dyslexia. You're now going to take away what he is building his self-esteem and building his self-worth and really, double down on his weakness. So I think back to the question is, what can we do for people with dyslexia? And I will be forever grateful to my father. Focus on their self-esteem, focus on their self-worth, because dyslexics have other skills. We are blessed with other skills that people who don't have dyslexia actually don't have. And so when you focus on their skills, build their self-worth, my father's mantra was, let's build his self-worth and let his life sort of play out, and he'll figure out how to handle dyslexia. Now let me answer the question another way. I'm blessed to live in a time where I have technology to help me a great deal. So I've got natural reader software where I can read PDFs or Word docs or anything that is over the internet so fast and so accurately because I'm using tools to read it back to me. So now not only am I hearing it word for word, but I am also trying to stay with it with my eyes, and thus my comprehension is much, much greater than often some of my colleagues who do not have dyslexia. I still have dyslexia, and my kids will tell you, when I go to read a book out loud to them, it takes about 2 pages, and they'll quietly and humbly say, Dad, do you want me to read it to us? So you can never get rid of it, but...
Okay, so there's no training, there's no therapy, there's nothing like that will...
No. It's like you're 5'4", and if you want to play in the NBA, you're still going to be 5'4". That's it. You can still probably play. I mean, Spud Webb played in the NBA, but he had to generate or develop skills that played to his strengths, not his weakness.
Okay, you mentioned something about other skills, and when you mentioned that, I thought of people who are blind, who have incredible hearing and sense of smell and things like that, because they develop their other senses when they have one that doesn't work. What is it about you or people with dyslexia that people who don't have dyslexia? What skills have you developed?
I can tell you a couple of skills that I know other dyslexics have that I sort of believe I have. One is we're absolutely tenacious, and we can endure physically long things. It's one of my skills, is I have the ability to push myself physically harder than I think the average person. The other thing that often comes with dyslexia is creativity. And so you have this, while my one side of my brain is a tricycle, it's really slow and hard and difficult, the other side of my brain, the creativity side of my brain, is like a Formula One race car. I often can come up and talk about conceptual problems and potential solutions in a way that some of my colleagues struggle with or are a little slower at. And my father used to always say, Art, people aren't going to pay you to spell implementation or to pay you to spell, solution. They're going to pay you to implement solutions. They're not going to pay you to write those things. They're going to pay you to do those things. So that was just all, again, back to my father. He was constantly reinforcing my self-esteem, which even with that, with him as my father, it still took me until I was almost 25 before I really understood, okay, I have to own this. I can't let dyslexia control my life the way I've been allowing it to. I have to own it. I have to, do what I need to do.
Was that the inspiration for the book?
To a certain extent, I think that certainly yes. I have my whole life sort of compartmentalized, and I think a lot of people do this. They compartmentalize their lives in a way, it's almost like self-preservation. So athletically and in other areas of my life, I would push myself harder than any of my competitors, and in doing so, I wrestled during the matches were relatively easy, and it's because I pushed myself so hard in practice and other areas that when it came to the matches and it came to the tournaments, I was typically one of the better wrestlers. With dyslexia, I learned how to push myself and use my strengths. When I was 25, I finally went back to college. I'm probably 6 years older than all the other university students. But at that point, and I talk about it in the book, I developed what I call my 10 commandments on how to get straight A's in college, even despite my dyslexia. I was hell-bent on getting straight A's. And so I didn't get straight A's, but I graduated with a 3.85, which is close, an A-, and I got a 4.0 in my minor. So to me, that was a massive victory. But yeah, there definitely is elements of that all through the book.
Okay. Can you give us a general synopsis of the book?
Yeah. General synopsis of the book is really simple, and that is I believe that there's a natural law, just like gravity. I believe that you can live your life one of two ways. You can live your life hard, easy, or you can live your life easy, hard. You can choose. You have a choice. We all have choices. And I know I know we all, there's a great deal of talk about equity and equality in our society today. I know that we don't all have the same starting point. I was blessed with an amazing father that continually reinforced my self-esteem, and heaven knows I needed it. And I know not everyone has a father like that. But we all have a choice. We all can choose hard or we can choose easy. We cannot choose the consequences of that choice. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I do with my kids all the time. I have a son who's 16, and he loves to play video games. And so when he comes home from school, he'll, migrate to his room, and he'll be on video games with his friends playing, whatever it is they're playing. And they'll play for hours. Well, I know because I've seen his grades, I know he has homework. And I'll say, listen, son, it's super easy to come home from school and play video games. I get it. I was the master of procrastinating the homework. I know. But if you continue to make easy decisions, you will have to live hard down the road. And I'm just trying to tell you from personal experience, when test time comes, or when the ACT test comes, or when it comes time to go to college, if that's what you want to do, you will have to live hard because of all of these decisions of, doing the easy thing after school. I've got a daughter who's 32, and she's starting to work and do all this kind of stuff. And she was telling me the other day, Dad, I've got all these companies that are sending me credit cards. I've got 2,000 here and 5,000 there and this, that, and the other. And I said to her, honey, going out and spending up and running up those credit card bills is going to be easy. I know you want clothes, and I know you want a big screen TV, and I know you want all these things that supposedly will make you happy. But I promise, if you make those easy decisions now, you will have to live hard later. But if you can look at almost any aspect of your life, whether it's health, whether it's a relationship, finance, education, it just goes all the way down the line. You have a choice. You can live hard, easy, or easy, hard. And it's your choice, and it's your life.
Well, I know that is true, because I think I took the easy way for 20 years of my life. And then when I hit 43, I said, nope, I'm going back. And I went back to starting over again and doing the hard way.
I can totally relate. For 25 years,
yeah.
I took the easy route, no question about it. I had all sorts of excuses on why I couldn't be successful. And I watched my high school buddies and, people my age accomplishing all these things that I just thought I would never be able to do. And it was finally, until I sat down and said, man, you're focusing on your weakness, Art. You're a slave to dyslexia. It's almost like I'm a slave to drugs. I'm allowing this thing to destroy my life and my potential. And I knew I could be better than that. And so I just sort of owned it, which it sounds like you did as well.
Yeah, I just wish I would have woken up a little bit sooner, because I feel like I wasted the 20 better years of my life, and I'm starting over. I suppose the old saying of better late than never, but it would have been nice if I had been doing it, when I was young and had more energy, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a dear friend, and he smokes like a chimney. He smokes like a chimney, and I'm not trying to diss anyone that smokes, but I don't think it doesn't take a brain surgeon. We all know the negative effects of smoking in our lives. And I constantly am urging him, come on, man, you know what this does to you. Stop. So now he's 65, and he just barely stopped. And he's trying to get back in shape. He's trying to exercise, and he's trying to do some stuff. But he's accumulated, and he has the same feelings as you do. He's accumulated, almost 40 years of making the easy decision to smoke, instead of tackling the really hard, gut-wrenching. To him, it was his biggest internal demon, the urge to stop smoking. And now he's finally done it, and he just kicks himself. Why didn't he do this, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's true. Well, we do have to wrap this up. Hopefully your book will push people into the direction of challenging themselves and taking the hard easy.
I hope so. One of my favorite chapters is chapter 10, and it's all about excuses. And as I talk to people, I hear excuses all the time, and I am the master of excuses. Believe me, I can totally relate. And so, one of my favorite sayings is, excuses do not change results. And I hope if even one person will pick up this book and say, you know what, I can do better. I can live a better version of my life. I can do this. To me, that's all I need.
Great. Do you have a website you want to give out? People can come check you out, check out the book.
I do. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Arthur F. Coombs, or you can find me on my website, which is simply artcoombs.com. That's ARTCOOMBS.com.
Art, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, and best of luck with the book and everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.